Welcome to the Radical Success Podcast, where we focus on internal transformation to experience external results. I'm your host and coach, Doreen Rainey. Join me each week for insightful messages and powerful interviews to equip you to take bold, courageous, and radical action to live the life you want and deserve. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Radical Success Podcast. We are about 1 week into 2019. How has your year been going? You know, it's so funny. Statistics tell us that for those of us, whether we call them resolutions, whether we call them goals, whether we call them fresh starts, no matter what word we put on it, statistics tell us that most of us set some goals for a new year. And statistics also tell us that by mid-January, most of those goals have fallen by the wayside. Most people have lost focus. Most people have gotten off track. Most people have already deviated from the path that they said they were going to take in the new year. And so I believe that none of my listeners fall into that category. But just in case, you need a little extra something to keep you focused. Just in case you need a little extra to keep you on track for your goals, I want to invite you to a very special online training that I am hosting entitled 5 Mindset Shifts You Must Have to Create Radical Results. Now, you know that we believe that it is an internal transformation that creates external results. And so this training is all about taking a deeper, richer, more complete look at who you are, why you are, and what you need to think, believe, and the habits you need to create to actually make those goals a reality. And listen, it's real easy to be a part of this training. All you have to do is go to DoreenRainey.com and click on Start Here, and you can register absolutely free. So come on, let's make sure that we don't lose focus, we don't lose steam. Let's make sure that we get the right tools and insights and strategies to go along with the vision boards, the goals, the milestones, the checklists, and the timelines. We have to marry both of those to get where we want to be. And so go ahead to DoreenRainey.com, click on Start Here, and join me for this incredible virtual masterclass training. Now today, oh my goodness, are you in for a treat? I am so excited to have this special guest with me today. And I have known her now going on, I think, like 5 or 6 years. And what a joy to have connected with this woman. First, professionally, and then to move beyond a professional relationship and actually create a friendship that's based in support, a friendship that's based in being able to talk things out, to share, to celebrate our wins together, and also explore our challenges together, and being able to help each other, give each other advice, and just really be there for each other beyond a business relationship. And so I am thrilled that she and I are having an incredible conversation today about exponential living. And so I want to introduce you to Sheri Riley. If you are not familiar with her, you are in for a treat. Sheri is a wife, a mother, a daughter, and an entrepreneur. And she's taking all of those roles and she's figured out how to integrate them and how to create a harmonious life in spite of all of the roles that she has. Her 9 principles around exponential living are the guide for high achievers to integrate their personal desires into their life without detriment to their professional achievement. And as Sheri will share with you, She's had and still does a very successful career, starting out in entertainment and now moving into the coaching and speaking space. And throughout that journey, she has learned some powerful things about what it takes to be fulfilled, what it takes to have joy, and what it takes to have professional success. And so, as an empowerment speaker and life strategist, she spent over 20 years creating innovative and marketing strategies for some of these names you may recognize, the likes of Usher, TLC, Tony Braxton, Converse, Coca-Cola, BMW, the NBA, and the list goes on and on and on. I've had the pleasure of working with Sheri in my involvement with Steve Harvey and our professional and personal development platform. She's spoken at our conferences and at our events, and I am thrilled to have her on the podcast today. So let's give a radical welcome to Sheri Riley.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I am so excited for this conversation today about exponential living.
Yes, yes. Great way to start the year. Great way to start the year.
Yes, yes. And I know that you have been a part of the radical community, and we have so many people who are looking forward to hearing what you're talking about today. And we also have some people who this might be their first time connecting with you. So share a little bit about the work you do, who you are, and why you love the work you do.
Man, I first of all, I've had such an amazing experience and journey with you, with the Radical Success community, and just being a part of it from day one. It just, I love what you're doing, and I love just how you continue to pour into so many of us, including me. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
So first, I am your friend. I
Yes.
am your friend. I am a wife. I am a mother. I'm a daughter. I'm an entrepreneur. And what I've realized is all of those things are extremely challenging, right? All of them demand and command so much of us. And what I've been able to really grasp is how to make all of those things simple so that we really can get the fullness. And living all of those multiple hats that we put on every day, they don't become an obligation. They really do become a part of your daily passion. Even though the work is hard, the juggling of your schedule is challenging, the responsibilities can be heavy, but they don't have to weight you down and they don't have to weigh you down. And so I have this passion as an empowerment speaker, life strategist, and author to really help guide people from getting, getting away from or getting unstuck. When you get in that place where you're just stuck, you know what to do, but you don't know how. That's my passion, is really helping people get from where they are to where they want to be and really living that transformative life and not just wanting it, desiring it, but really what are the simple steps to live it.
Yeah, yeah. And did you have this epiphany and this desire early on in your life, or is this something that evolved as your own life evolved? And these were some revelations that you had as you moved through adulthood, carrying all of those roles and all of those titles.
Well, it all started when I crashed and burned.
As it does for many of us.
Yes. And literally I crashed and burned. Like I was so blessed out of college through a whole lot of work, a whole lot of no's, a whole lot of struggle to actually have the career of my dreams. I'm from a small town in Kentucky. I wanted to work in the entertainment industry. I wanted to live in Atlanta before I had ever been to Atlanta and before there was an entertainment industry in Atlanta. I had this vision, this dream. And so after 8 years of a lot of work, I realized that dream. And I had the honor of serving as the head of marketing and developing the careers of Tony Braxton, TLC, Usher. I had the career of my dreams. I was making great money. I bought my mother a home by the age of 27. I'm traveling. I love what I did. I loved who I worked with. And I was absolutely miserable. I was miserable.
That's such a dichotomy because when you say things like, I love the people I work with, I love what I was doing. I was able to buy, my mom a house, which, for many people is like the ultimate give back that they would love to do, and that you were making a lot of money. And so some people would say, okay, Sheri, I mean, for real, what is it that you could possibly be miserable about?
And that was the struggle I had. Like, how can you have all of this and be miserable? Isn't that being ungrateful? Like, what do you mean? And that's how we get trapped, because what was happening, Noreen, is I did have a great career, but I didn't have a good life. And what I discovered is that I was spending 100% of my time on 10% of who I was. So it wasn't that this 10% wasn't happy and fulfilled in my career, but there was 90% of me that I just didn't deal with on a regular basis. And so you can't find 100% of your fulfillment only living in 10% of who you are. And that was the revelation that I thought was just my truth, right? When you say, did it evolve over time? Well, I came to that revelation when I crashed and burned, but it was over time that I began to realize I wasn't the only one feeling that way. I was really the only one either stupid enough or naive enough to actually say it out loud.
Right.
And I sounded crazy for a long time. But then my friends started, admitting to me, girl, if I buy one more $5,000 purse and I'm empty on the inside, or if I, buy another car, if I get another promotion, if I date another great guy and feel this emptiness and feel this void, I don't know what I'm going to do because nothing's working. The promotions, the money, the relationships, the cars, the trips, nothing is working. And so I wasn't the only one struggling with that dichotomy.
Yeah. And, sometimes when these types of conversations emerge, it can lead people to believe that when you have money, when you have material success, you can't find happiness and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
I want to make sure that people are clear that are tuning in that that is not necessarily the case, because what we're talking about is how do you find that fulfillment and have all of the other components that come along with it, um, instead of trying to fill the void with some of those material components.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Because that is so important. Because it is the and. Like I tell people all the time, I still want money. I had money then. I still have millions more that I want to make, right? Like,
Right.
none of this is in lieu of the travel. None of this is in lieu of the financial blessings. But when that becomes the only definition for your peace, the
Yeah.
only definition of your clarity, and if you don't have those things, then you feel like you have no courage, that's when those things are out of order. And so what I say is we have the pursuit backwards. Like we're pursuing the money and the access and the careers and the titles because we believe those things will fulfill us and give us this peace that we so desire. But the reality is it doesn't. And so what I really want to help people with is how do you pursue the peace, the clarity, and the courage first so that you can genuinely enjoy the rewards of your hard work instead of the rewards actually becoming burdens.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you discovered that, and you discovered that you weren't the only one, that there were others who were in this space that you were experiencing, how did you begin to rectify? Um, did it have to sit with you for a minute? Did you still continue life as normal? Or did you make a really hard right turn? Like, what was the process for you?
Yeah, it was a few hard right turns, sit with it for a while, make another hard right turn, sit
Mhm.
with it for a while. Because I think that really is the pattern for most of us, where you hit the brick wall. Because sometimes it takes the brick wall to get your attention. I tell my clients all the time, there's some revelation that you get in the moment, and then there's some revelation, some change that happens over time, that there's a process to it. And so it's really, I knew I'd hit a brick wall. I began to discover that it wasn't just me. I knew as a marketing executive, girl, I had come up with a dope tagline, right? Stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are. Like, come on, right? Okay, I knew that was hot. But I needed to know how. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do I live this real life thing that I visualize, but I couldn't even articulate it. I mean, Doreen, to be very transparent, the reason it took me 12 years to write my book is because I knew it was called Exponential Living. I knew there was 9 principles. I knew the tagline, stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are. I knew that instantly. All the stuff in the middle, I had to live it out. I,
Right.
I couldn't, if you ask me, well, Sheri, what is it? What is exponential living? Well, I can tell you now, but it took me about 5 years to really uncover what is it, because not only did I have to have what it's called, but I also had to live what it is. I also had to understand, like you're asking me now, well, how do you do that? Because if we knew, then we would all be doing it, right? But
Right.
whether you're a mother of three, or whether you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're a corporate executive, we all hit that brick wall and realize that peace, clarity, and courage really are the things that we're missing. But then we have no idea how to actually live those things. So it was a combination of the two, and I'm still on it. I'm still on the journey. I tell people all the time, and you know this because I've shared it with you. Girl, I'm my first client. I,
Right.
I'm my number one client. I'm just sharing with the world what I keep learning and uncovering for myself.
Right, exactly, exactly. And I love the fact that you talk about the terms, the adjustments, sitting with it, because what I think most people need to really take to heart, and a lot of what I share is this concept of transformation does not happen overnight. Transformation doesn't happen when you have an aha moment. Transformation doesn't happen when you realize that there's emptiness. Transformation is a process that takes a deep, rich understanding of why you are where you are and how you can move forward to that place, as you talk about, of peace and of clarity. And this journey has led you to writing Exponential Living, that incredible book. And what was it that spearheaded that title? Like, what is exponential living?
Wow, when you say what spearheaded it, I wish I could take the credit. I really wish I could, but I can't. God gave me that. Like, I'm a woman of faith. I don't put my faith on anyone. But literally, God said it's exponential living, and
Mm-hmm.
in His omnipotence and in His amazingness, being Alpha Omega, that was all He said.
Right, right,
so, so when my agents and everyone's saying, okay, well, what is it? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
And to be honest, everyone told me I needed to change the name because people couldn't spell it, people can't say it, but I knew He gave it to me.
Right,
And the blessing is I live it, because He didn't just give it to me and then say, here's your bullet points. He gave it to me, and then I went on the journey of my life actually representing it. Not just me teaching it, not just me sharing it, not just me talking about it, but genuinely my life represents it. And what it, over 7 years, what it ended up manifesting after, years of it being 3 pages, a page, a paragraph, it finally boiled down to one sentence. And that is, exponential living is a lifestyle of pursuing peace, choosing clarity, and living courageously. That is the core of all of it. And it's like you just said, it's change and transformation is not in a moment. It really is a lifestyle. And so exponential living, it's a lifestyle, because when peace is not a destination you reach. Peace is a continual journey that you're constantly making a decision every day that you will own. Clarity is a decision every day to stop saying, I don't know, and focus in on what you do know. And then it takes peace and clarity to give you the courage to then get up and do the things that peace and clarity has empowered you to do. And so at the heart of exponential living, when God gave it to me, I was so frustrated because I didn't know what it was, because he needed me to live it. And then as I began to live it, then he gave me the words that others could then learn how to live it as well.
Right, right. And I am so with you on the fact that you're creating a lifestyle of peace. And for many people, they may have pockets of peace, they may have pockets of clarity, and they may have moments of courage. But in order to make it a lifestyle, what do you think are the components that people really need to incorporate into their daily living, their daily mindset, so that they don't feel like, last week was good, this week is awful.
Right.
Yesterday I
Yeah.
had peace. Today
Yeah. And this is not a plug. This is the absolute truth. It really is focusing on and living those 9 principles that God gave me over time. Like, those 9 principles really do serve as the guide. But when you look at just breaking it down in its simplest, excuse me, in its simplest form, it starts with making a decision. A lot of times what robs us of our peace, what robs us of our clarity, which then inevitably is going to steal our courage, is we won't make a decision, right? Like, we're so caught up in, is it the right decision, that we won't make any decision. Or in this day and age, there's so many options that we get overwhelmed with paralysis of analysis. And so it's very simple. We just got to make some real decisions. And then when we make the decisions, then we have to make sure we're clear on what's most important. Like, what's most important? Like, for example, when you start your day, do you start your day with your phone in your hand, or do you start your day centered on you, which for me is prayer and meditation with God, or just meditation, and allowing yourself to just really align, what is my purpose for today? Like, what am I purpose for today? And then when we get that in alignment, then we then go out and serve in a way that we're giving of ourselves. The more you give, the more peace you have, the more joy you have, the more reality you have to be focused on what's most important. And so when we get those first 3 things in order, and that is making the decision, being very intentional about how we start our day, and then being committed to service, being committed to giving more than we actually are pursuing to receive. That is like the simplest way to really focus in and begin to live a lifestyle of exponential living.
And you and I, as life coaches and as people who are, our best clients and living out what it is we teach and share, I so completely get what you mean when you talk about making those decisions, how you start your day, and being committed to service. And I want you to speak to the person who's listening and going, yeah, that sounds good, but I'm not even at zero. Like, I'm in a deficit. I'm trying to get to a place where I don't have nothing to give. I'm tapped out. And the decisions that I need to make, I can't even get to that place yet because of everything else I need to take care of to get there. And so for that person who's saying, man, that sounds good, but you don't know my situation, you don't know my life, what would you say to that person to help them understand how they can really take that step to really incorporate what you're sharing into their lives right now?
Man, the great thing about that is when I really started this journey of exponential living, when I had a business for 17 years and I closed my business. When I started this, when God really set me down and said, okay, let's go, it wasn't when I was at the top of my game in my career. It wasn't when I had the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. It was the exact opposite. I was homeless. Me and my daughter was staying in my best friend's spare bedroom and hotels when she had family and friends coming over. I had way more debt than I had income every year. I literally, it was a place and time when friends and family just wasn't there. Like they just weren't there. I would, there were so many financial struggles that my family endured during this time. And this is when I started my first mastermind. This is
Mm-hmm.
when I started coaching clients for the first time. This is when I would sit in my prayer closet and the words for exponential living that eventually turned into an image NAACP image nominated book. It came from when I was sitting with I thought was nothing. And so I tell people all the time when they say, oh, well, I can't start my business because I don't have any money. I started my business with no money. I created barter relationships with people. They wanted to be coached. I needed a website. So I offered them coaching. They built my website. So not having money is not an excuse. When I went to start my mastermind, I did them for free, and the public library allowed me to use the library for free. So I didn't need money to find a location to start doing masterminds. I didn't have a home to live in. I lived in the spare bedroom of my girlfriend with my daughter. I didn't even have a place to call my own, but that was the most grounded I had been in a long time. That is where I was able to genuinely get centered and focused so that I could then be what I was called to be versus just focusing on doing what I thought I was supposed to do. And so I would say if you think you have nothing, then I would evaluate that and your perception may need to shift and go, wow, I don't have anything that's interfering. I have everything I need to get to moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other piece of that is the literal sense of getting moving. You know, maybe they don't have any money, but you just dealt with that. Maybe you don't have support, you just dealt with that. I also think the other important component is to be able to stand for who you are and what decisions you know you need to make, regardless or in spite of what other people think about that decision or how it might impact them versus it being best for you.
Oh my God, that's so real, Doreen. Like when I got over for lack of a better word, the shame,
Mm-hmm.
when I got over the embarrassment. And the thing was this, I wasn't embarrassed and I wasn't ashamed. It was what I thought other people thought
Right.
about my, but every day I was writing, I was helping people. Here's the craziest thing. This is why when I say the peace and getting centered and then serving, because when I didn't have money, I didn't have a home, but I had something to give. And every last one of those people that God had me serving in that summer that I went through that, one of them is like the CEO of, she's about to just take over this amazing company. I can't tell it. Another has launched her clothing line and it is like doing global things. Another one has launched this international movement called Silence the Shame that deals in mental health. I could go on. Another is running an AIDS program. And all of these, there was like 15 people over that summer. All of them were in a place of, they didn't understand what they needed to do next. They didn't know where they were. They didn't know the how. And so when I didn't think I had anything is when I had everything, because being of service to those people has allowed them to expand exponentially in their lives, in their families, in their personal development. But it's all, if you talk to any of them, it all is rooted in their peace, their clarity, and their courage. And so I would encourage your listeners that feel that way, that feel like, but I don't have this, and I don't have that, and I don't have this. That's the problem, is you're looking at what you don't have instead of truly walking in the gifts and the talent and the anointing and the relationships and the information and the access that you do have. Because when I didn't have the money to buy, it's when I poured into people like you, Doreen, and like others, that now we have such a relationship and such a support for each other, because I didn't come to you and say, hey, girl, let me buy something from you. I came to you out of the genuine support and love of my heart, saying, hey, how can I help you? How can I be of service to you? What do you need? And that, all of us have that. All of us have, I don't care how bad your situation is, all of us have something in us that in turn will come back to you exponentially, pun intended.
Right. Right. Now, inside of your book, and you've alluded to it already in the conversation, you have the 9 principles around exponential living. And as much as I wish we had the time to touch on all of them, I know we don't. I encourage all of you to make sure you pick up a copy of this book, and Sheri's going to share with us a little later how to connect with her, get in touch with her, and get some incredible tips from her about creating that peace and clarity and courage in your life. But looking at these principles, you start with this concept of living in your power. What does that mean, and how can people, power is such a forceful word, and it's become somewhat of a buzzword, right? Be empowered, stand in your power, live in your power. But because it's become a buzzword doesn't mean that it's lost any of its ferociousness. And so what do you mean when you tell someone you have got to live in your power?
Yes, that is the very first principle of exponential living. And when I was first writing the book, it was actually the third principle. And it stayed the third principle for a while. And then I was stuck. And I remained stuck for a long time. And that's when God really spoke to me and said, you're stuck because you won't make a decision. And that's when living your power became the first principle, because it really is about the choices we make. It really is about our decisions. And it really focuses in on 5 key areas, which is, what is your vision? What are you really genuinely looking to accomplish? And how do you see, just like we just talked about, do you see your lack of money as what's stopping you? Or do you see your lack of money as an opportunity to barter, to create relationships? And then what are you focused on? That's the ownership. What are you really focused on? And then the third key in that power is the wisdom, meaning what is your plan? But not like this big, grandiose, 60-page document that nobody's going to follow. What is the one, at the most 3, next best steps? I know there's 100 great steps and there's 20 really awesome steps, but what's the 1 or 2 most important next steps? And then the engagement is so critical. It's the most critical, because it's in the engagement, it's in the implementation, which really just boils down to, will you be present in the moment? Are you so distracted with worrying about the future and so bummed out, upset about the past, that you're missing the beauty of right now, this moment, and being present, especially with all the distractions with social media? There's 100 different ways to do one thing. And then when you can stay consistent that's when you get the reward. So when I talk about living your power, I'm talking about making the daily decisions to own your vision, take ownership of what you're focused in, making sure you're always in line and intentional about those one or two most important next steps, staying present in the moment so that you can be at your full strength. And through the consistency of all those things, you'll get your reward. And the reward is not just another title, another, like on social media. The reward is truly the fullness of exponential living in all areas of your life.
All of this is so important for people to get, because there isn't just one thing that makes it all come together. It is all of these components in tandem, working together to create that ultimate level of peace and clarity. What good is it to be focused if you don't have the wisdom? What good is it to be engaged, but you're engaged in activities that don't support your vision? And so being able to understand that all of these things working together lead you to this experience of exponential living is so critical, because what I have found at times is sometimes people are always looking for a shortcut. They're always looking for a hack. And when it comes to your personal transformation, when it comes to living a radical life, when it comes to exponential living, there are no shortcuts. You have to do the work.
And that is the key. And especially in this microwave society where we want to just take the webinar and bam, I'm good. Hit the link in the bio and there's my answer. And you're right. It is, people ask me all the time, okay, well, Sheri, what's the one thing? What's the one thing? What's the one thing? And, I just sit there and look at them, because there's not just one thing. There's not just one voice. Like, I get from you, I get a little from our friend Patrice, I get a little from John Maxwell, I get a little from Donald Miller. Like, we have to be able to understand that we're complex people. What may work for you today may not work for you tomorrow. That's why it's a lifestyle. That's why it's a consistent evolution of all these things coming together. And you want to know what the real key is, Doreen? Like, kind of, if you put all of this in a bowl and say, okay, what's the glue that makes it all stick?
Yeah.
It's our commitment.
Right.
We want the transformation. We want the $100,000, career. We want these things, but are you committed? And the commitment isn't just, I set a New Year's resolution, I was committed through December 31st. Like, where is it, right? Like, no, are you committed every day to living your radical best life, to experiencing exponential living? Are you committed every day? And here's the thing about peace, clarity, and courage. Peace, clarity, and courage doesn't just show up when everything is great.
Right.
Peace, as you alluded to earlier, peace is just not when you're on vacation. In the midst of your darkest, deepest pain, that's where peace, clarity, and courage live. At your highest levels of success, when everyone is clapping and applauding your name, that's where peace, clarity, and courage live. And guess what? It lives in the middle of all of that as well. But will you stay committed and be intentional about the decisions you make moment by moment to make those three things your priority? Because that's where our radical success is, right? It's in that consistency and in that commitment.
Yeah. And what I want everyone to realize is words like exponential and words like radical, they are not regular words that what I would say regular people experience. These are words only the committed get to experience. And statistically speaking, most people won't stay committed. And so I'm giving a charge to everyone that's listening to this to not be one of the regular people, to not be part of the statistics that say Most people don't even get started on their goals. Most people don't stick to the things they need to do to achieve their goals past 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. Most people don't stay focused. They don't focus on being engaged in that wisdom piece and living in their power. And so I want to challenge everyone to really make a decision today. Are you going to be one of the regular people? Or are you going to be one of those exponentially living people? Because those are a rare breed. Those are the people who walk their talk and not just hope, wish, and think magically everything is going to work out. And so, Sheri, I know that you speak all around the world sharing this message, and you connect with so many people in so many different walks of life. What would you say are the one or two things that really hold people up, that really challenge them and have the potential to get them off track if they don't pay attention?
One of them I've said already is people won't make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest one. And here's the thing. I'm gonna play it back for you. I get this all the time, no matter where I go around the world. Man, Sheri, look, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I was thinking that if I built this and moved this and changed this, and when I did this, and then I'm gonna do that, and when I figure this out, and then I'm gonna put this here, and I'm gonna pay for this, and I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna line it all up. Girl, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Oh my God, Doreen, I get that all the time. I'm like, do you understand? You just said everything you need to do, and you sandwiched it between the two. I don't know. Like,
Right.
we could get rid of these walls of I don't know and just focus on what we do know, because you're not going to know everything, but what do you know?
Right.
And so that's the biggest one. And then the second one is I want to, oh my God, if I could just go around the world and just say, give yourself permission, dot, 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 right? Give yourself permission to get help. Give yourself permission to forgive yourself. Give yourself permission to feel the hurt and keep moving, knowing that you won't shatter in the hurt.
Right.
Feeling the hurt is going to allow you to get up. Give yourself permission to grieve. Grieving isn't just the death of a loved one. Grieving is the death of an idea. You put your heart, your soul, your money into this thing and it failed, or you think it failed because it looks like failure. Well, grieve that. Grieve the loss of the idea that didn't manifest. You thought that your child was going to go to this college, but now they're taking a gap year, and this gap year is now 5 years. Grieve the dream that you had for your child so that you can now open up to the reality of supporting them where they are. So if we could just give ourselves permission, dot, dot, dot.
Yeah.
Those are the two biggest things that I have found consistently, whether you're Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whether you're young, old, whether you're rich, poor, whether you're African or from Brazil or from Curacao. That has been the consistent two things that are holding people up from truly, truly breaking into their own freedom.
Right. Right. And based on those two things, I'm going to challenge everyone listening to make a decision today. And many times we know what to do. We just have some element of fear that stops us from doing it. Fear of what people will think, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of past issues or experiences, just fears. And so I'm asking everyone, what can you do today? What decision can you make today? And what can you give yourself permission for today? So, Sheri, let everybody know how they can connect with you, how they can get in touch with you, and how they can get some very specific tips on living with the peace and clarity that you've been talking about today.
Yes. So I've spent the last 3 or 4 years going around the world teaching that first principle, live in your power. And I constantly would get, oh my God, this was great. And then it's an hour talk. Now what? right? You just told me what the issue was. You told me what the challenge was, but now I don't know what to do next. And so I heard the cry. And so what I did is I put together an online course called just that, Live in Your Power, the 5 keys to inner peace and increase productivity. And with that program, it's 5 modules, and it really takes you through the how. Like I said, most of us know the what. We don't know the how. But what I also wanted to do is I wanted to give just something free. I wanted to give this opportunity to just kind of what I call a masterclass, right? It's basically a webinar, but I wanted to just, like I said, it's about giving first. So what I would love to do is have everyone sign up for the masterclass that's coming up. And to go and get more information about that masterclass, you want to go to iliveinpower.com, iliveinpower.com, and you'll also get my free 20 power tips for clarity and peace. The 20 power tips for clarity and peace. So the free masterclass is iliveinpower.com.
Well, thank you so much, Sheri, for being with me today. I am encouraging everyone to connect with Sheri, follow her on social. I believe all of your channels are at Sheri Riley. Is that right?
Yes, Sheri Riley. LinkedIn and Facebook are SheriRiley.com, DOTCOM spelled out. And then Twitter and Instagram is Sheri Riley, SHERIRILEY. And that's the same for the website as well.
Yes, and you can get her free tips at iliveinpower.com. Sheri, any final parting words of wisdom you want to share with our radical tribe today?
The last thing I would love to share is that we're all going to experience fear. I mean, that's just a given. And I'm not one of them people that, really hone in on, oh, don't feel the fear, because you're going to feel the fear. Okay, now what? When the fear comes, now what? And what I want to encourage everyone listening is when you have the fear, all you need is a little more courage than fear. If you can just focus on the courage, I just need a little more courage than this fear. I just need a little more courage to pick up the phone and make that call. I just need a little more courage to work on this proposal. I just need a little more courage to say these truths that I've been bearing. It just takes a little more courage than fear to have radical success and to experience exponential living.
Yes, a little bit more courage than fear. Awesome advice.
Yes.
And I encourage people to take it to heart today. Well, thank you so much, Sheri. I appreciate you. You are a wonderful friend, mentor, coach, peer, fellow entrepreneur on this journey of life with me.
Yes. It's so mutual. It is so mutual. Oh my God. Can I just tell everybody, we had lunch last week, guys. And can I tell you, when we are together, the energy, the creativity, the support, the love, the ideas, the encouragement, the accountability is more than you could ever pay for. It is one of my most treasured jewels, is just being able to have those moments and walk away knowing not only do you have my back and I have your back, but my God, we do great things together.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That is 100% true. Yes, and I am looking forward to all the things that we'll continue to do together in the future.
Wonderful. Thank you, my friend. I look forward to it as well.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thank you, Sheri.
Thanks for listening to the Radical Success Podcast. We would love to hear from you. Be sure to head over to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, stay radical.